January 27th, 2026. 3 financial earthquakes just hit simultaneously, and if you're not paying attention, you could lose everything you've worked for. First, gold just crossed $5,000 per ounce for the first time in human history. Not $4,500, not $4,800, $5,000. Second, JPMorgan Chase, America's largest bank, just crashed 8% in a single trading session. That's $32 billion in market value, vanished. The catalyst? A $5 billion lawsuit that's exposing how the entire banking system operates behind closed doors. Third, the IRS just issued what I'm calling the OBBBA Freeze. Millions of Americans who worked overtime expecting tax-free income are now stuck in pending status. Their refunds frozen, their plans shattered. I'm the financial coin historian, and today we're connecting the dots between a 1907 banking panic, a 2026 system rejection, and why physical precious metals might be the only lifeboat left when this ship goes down. But before we dive into the chaos, smash that subscribe button. This channel exists to decode financial history and show you how the patterns repeat, so you can protect yourself before the next collapse, not after. Let's start with JPMorgan. This isn't just another bad day on Wall Street. This is what I call institutional capitulation. Here's what happened. A $5 billion lawsuit has been filed alleging that JPM systematically manipulated precious metals markets, specifically gold and silver, for over a decade. The evidence? Internal communications, trading data, spoofing patterns that are so obvious, even regulators can't ignore them anymore. Now, you might think, oh, another bank fine, they'll pay it and move on. Wrong. This is different. When an 8% drop happens to the largest bank in America, a bank that survived 2008, that absorbed Bear Stearns and Washington Mutual, that tells you the market is pricing in something catastrophic. What the market is saying is this: we don't trust the system anymore. When major institutions get caught rigging the very markets they're supposed to protect, investor confidence doesn't just crack, it shatters. And here's the historical parallel. In 1907, when JPMorgan himself had to intervene to stop a banking panic, it wasn't because one bank failed. It was because the entire system's credibility was collapsing. Today, we're watching the same script unfold, except this time, there's no JPMorgan to save the day. Just algorithms, derivatives, and a whole lot of people realizing the emperor has no clothes. Now let us talk about the OBBBA Freeze and why millions of Americans are about to have a very bad surprise. OBBBA stands for the Overtime Benefits and Bonuses Bill Act. Legislation passed last year that promised tax-free overtime for workers earning under $100,000 annually. Sounds great, right? Work extra hours, keep more of your money, stimulate the economy. Except the IRS just released Fact Sheet 2026-01, and buried in the fine print is this gem. All claims for tax-free overtime benefits will undergo manual review to verify compliance with eligibility criteria. Processing time, 90 to 180 days. Translation? If you worked overtime expecting tax-free income, your refund is now stuck in bureaucratic purgatory. And here's the kicker. Early estimates suggest over 12 million tax returns are affected. That's 12 million families who budgeted around this money, who counted on it, who need it. But the real issue isn't the delay. It's the uncertainty. The IRS is calling these math error reviews. But what they are really saying is, we don't have the systems in place to handle what Congress promised you. This is a government acknowledging it can't deliver on its own legislation. And when the government can't manage something as fundamental as tax processing, something they have done for over a century, what does that tell you about their ability to manage anything else? The dollar? The banking system? Social Security? Folks, this is systemic incompetence meeting systemic complexity. And when those two forces collide, the people always lose. So what's the solution? Hold that thought, because it connects directly to our next point. Let's talk about gold hitting $5,000 per ounce. And no, this isn't speculation. This isn't a prediction. This is happening right now as we speak. From a historian's perspective, gold prices tell us one thing above all else: confidence, or the lack thereof. When gold was $300 in the early 2000s, people believed in the system. When it hit $1,900 in 2011, cracks were showing. Today, at $5,000, the system isn't just cracked, it's fracturing. Here's why this matters. Gold doesn't produce dividends, it doesn't generate cash flow, it doesn't innovate or disrupt. Gold just sits there, and yet people are paying record prices for it. Why? Because they've lost faith in everything else. Think about it. Banks are being sued for manipulation. The IRS can't process tax returns. Stock markets are volatile. Real estate is overpriced. Bonds are paying negative real returns after inflation. Where else can you go? Gold becomes the fire escape. It's the asset you buy, not because you want to, but because you have to. Because everything else feels like quicksand. And here's the fascinating part. This isn't new. In 1933, during the Great Depression, gold was so valuable, the government literally made it illegal for private citizens to own it. Why? Because people were hoarding it instead of keeping money in banks. The government needed to force confidence back into the system. Fast forward to 2026. We're not there yet. You can still buy gold freely. But the price tells us we're heading in that direction. When an asset historically viewed as barbarous and outdated outperforms every major stock index, every tech stock, every innovation, that's your signal. The market is voting with its wallet, and it's voting for survival, not speculation. Let me show you something that'll give you chills. In 1907, the United States experienced what historians call the Panic of 1907. Banks collapsed, trust companies failed, people rushed to withdraw their money, but the vaults were empty. Why? Because banks had over-leveraged themselves, chasing returns in copper speculation and railroad investments. When the public realized their money was not really there, it was tied up in illiquid assets they didn't understand, panic spread. JPMorgan had to lock bankers in his library and force them to sign bailout agreements at gunpoint, essentially. The key phrase from that era? Suspension of payments. Banks literally put up signs saying, "We can't give you your money right now. Come back later." Now look at 2026. We don't have bank runs in the traditional sense. We have system rejection codes. We have IRS pending statuses. We have lawsuits against the largest financial institutions. We have digital barriers instead of locked vault doors. In 1907, it was paper. You couldn't redeem your deposit receipt for cash. In 2026, it's code. Your transaction is processing. Your refund is under review. Your account is temporarily restricted. Same problem, different facade. And just like in 1907, when the public realizes the system can't deliver what it promises, that's when the real panic begins. The difference? In 1907, JP Morgan could gather the key players in one room and hammer out a solution. In 2026, the system is so complex, so interconnected, so global, that there's no single person who can fix it. We're flying blind, hoping the algorithms work, hoping the regulations hold, hoping the faith remains. So here's the bottom line, and this is where history meets strategy. You cannot freeze physical precious metals. You cannot pending a gold coin sitting in your safe. You cannot apply a system rejection code to a silver bar you can hold in your hand. This is why, throughout history, when systems collapse, whether it's Rome, Weimar Germany, or the Soviet Union, the people who survive aren't the ones with paper wealth or digital promises. They're the ones with tangible assets. Now, I'm not saying sell everything and go live in a bunker. What I am saying is this. Diversification in 2026 means something different than it did in 1996. It's not just stocks versus bonds anymore. It's digital versus physical. It's promises versus possession. Look at these 2026 silver eagles and gold eagles. These aren't just coins, they're insurance policies. When JP Morgan's stock drops 8%, these go up. When the IRS freezes refunds, these remain liquid. When confidence erodes, these hold value. Here's what I recommend. This is not financial advice, just a historian's perspective. 1. Allocate a portion of your portfolio to physical precious metals. Not ETFs, not certificates, not digital gold. Physical. Something you can touch, something no one can freeze, delete, or review. 2. Understand that gold and silver aren't investments in the traditional sense. They're wealth preservation tools. You buy them hoping you never need them, but grateful you have them when the systems fail. 3. Stay informed. Subscribe to this channel because we track these patterns. We decode the history. We connect the dots so you're not caught off guard when the next crisis hits. And 4. Remember this. Every major financial collapse in history was preceded by the same warning signs we are seeing today. Institutional failures, government incompetence, loss of confidence. And every time, the people who prepared survived, while those who trusted the system suffered. So what's it going to be? Are you going to wait for the pending notification? Or are you going to act now while you still can? Hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment below telling me what you think about the JPM crash, the OBBBA freeze, and gold hitting $5,000. And most importantly, share this video, because the people who need this information the most are the ones who aren't looking for it yet. I'm the financial coin historian. Stay sharp, stay prepared. And remember, history doesn't repeat, but it sure as hell rhymes.